Zombies versus Vampires by Veeno Dewan. When the big one hit the west coast of BC, it was like a close-range shotgun blast that took out the whole side of a person's head. The gas extended a good 1.5 kilometers from the coast to the interior of the mainland. There's only a week's warning by the authorities, and those who could get out did. Not everyone made it, of course. Flights were jammed. Every boat and ship with enough fuel to leave did. All the American border crossings had lined up so long and desperate, the US military had to draft in tanks and helicopter gunships to control those crazy Canucks trying to flee. Some of those once oh so nice, polite, law-abiding Canadians ran wild, bypassing the official crossings, running, cycling, and hiking their way across every inch of the unpatrolled border that was there to save their Canadian asses. When the quake finally did come, it was indeed the mother, the father, and the Holy Ghost of an earthquake rolled into one. Was it cruel karma? They say that bad things happen in not two, but in multiples of threes. In the case of Vancouver, it was as follows: earthquake, zombie, and then a vampire plague. The vampires were few in number and lived up in what remained of the upper downtown, Kits, and across the Lions Gates in West and North Vancouver. And they looked just like you thought Vancouver vampires were: wood dress, in Lululemon, Mountain Equipment Co-op, and North Face, with glazed all white eyes riding expensive mountain bikes. The zombies were more numerous and inhabited the downtown east side of what remained of the suburbs going east. The zombs, as we call them, were not of one type. The virus affected them in different stages and different ways. Some looked normal, others really were the living dead. They were a Cabbage Patch doll menagerie of zombies, and we gave them names according to how they looked: hippie zombie, homeless zombie, and hippie zombie. Pretty much commercial drive on a Friday night. Many were trademarked zombie with the ragged clothes, body parts missing, the slow shuffling walk, the moaning and crazy mad eyes. The vampires came out at night, however, to feed on the survivors and own the dark, while the zombies ruled the days, searching for the living. Sometimes we would hear them fight as they met at dusk. Since the twin plagues affected people after the quake, the army had dynamited the city almost to create a wall of rubble, 30 foot high, running east-west to keep the twin plagues out of the downtown core, where the army had set up its HQ. But still, the zombies and vamps sometimes got through. The reports from HQ from outside the city and in the burbs, the situation was said to be worse. Have you ever seen a zombie victim? It's like a bad Botox and plastic surgery gone wrong, all at the same time. And if the zombies get you and eat you alive, there's not much left, just a bloody spine usually. Our unit is holed up in the Shangri-La Hotel in the Vancouver downtown core. There are many groups like us, paramilitary units with a mix of civilian survivors. Jane Connor is my name, Sergeant Jane Connor. 10 years in the Canadian military, two tours in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. I joined up when I was 19. I didn't have the patience or the grace to get into the RCMP, you see, but I grew up on a farm outside of Red Deer in a family where the women also hunted. Guns and putting animals out of their misery is nothing new to me. It's been tiring these last few years, and I was hoping to land a sweet desk job in Army weapons training when I got out in 5 years. No such luck now. Not much to show for my career either, except for two probably dead cats, a hopefully dead loser of an husband, sagging boobs, and an aching back from humping army packs, fat thighs, and a tiny overpriced condo in the burbs that I had spent my whole life savings on, and it's probably toast anyway. But I'm not bitter. I keep telling myself, my team's job: extract and find other survivors, mark and shield supplies of food, water, fuel. Oh, and kill any vamps and zombies we can. Dr. Hunt, or simply Doc as we call her, is British, mid-40s with specs and a blonde bob. I find her in the makeshift laboratory in one of the gleaming stainless steel kitchens of the Shangri-La. The power is connected as our team have managed to rig up the emergency generators. Doc speaks with a strangulated British accent that normally makes a conversation, as with most Brits, take 3 times as long as it should be. She says lots of ums and ahs and hms and funny little sounds that I normally once found cute, but now when I need quick info, it's just distracting. She has good teeth for Brit though. The doc is looking through a portable microscope at blood specimens. A dead zombie short white female with the top half of her skull blown away lies on one of the big stainless steel work tables. Next to her, a vampire, an Asian man, a hole rounded his chest, skin a sickly mottled blue, all white eyes staring upwards. Our crew had found them fighting in the parking lot yesterday at dusk, and I had taken them out with single shots. Well, Sergeant, Doc says. She's the only one who calls me Sergeant. Everyone else just calls me Sarge. I need to get everything back to the main lab, but it's fascinating. Each blood supply portrays a different static point of the pathogens and virus that cause changes in behavioral patterns. It's simply amazing. So what does it mean? I asked. Here we go, riddles within riddles, I thought. Typical Doc speak. Well, random samples indicate the zombie and vampire virus are related and affect each victim in different ways. No one could predict how the symptoms will manifest themselves in each individual. Pathogenic neural pathways, binary selection, virus strains that constantly mutate. Hey, English doc, simply fascinating. The doc continues as if I am not there. Simply fascinating my ass, I thought. I had an urge to punch the doc in her limey mouth. Instead, I gritted my teeth and smiled. Keep up the research, I said. Doc pointed to the female zombie. Oh, and next time, Sergeant, can you ask them not to shoot them in the head? I do need to examine the brains. She started looking into the ceiling for some reason, probably dreaming of a perfect cup of tea or the Queen or something. God, Brits. I headed to one of the luxury lobbies on the 20th floor of the hotel. All glass walls, squishy leather sofas, nice carpets, and great views, or what were once great views of the city. All around, buildings collapsed, tilted, and with the windows all blown out from the earthquake. Some of the crew were here. Bix, our demolition and explosive guy, was looking through a telescope. He was in his late 20s or early 30s. It was hard to tell. We don't need to know or ask these questions anymore. He's an ex-Telus wireman. He used to lay internet fiber optic cable and now rigged explosives for us. He was fair-headed, a big corn-fed Alberta prairie lunkhead, not much upstairs, but okay for a roll in the hay. Solid and dependable. Bix turned to Maya. She was around 17, dark-haired, First Nations, and wore a military bulletproof vest that revealed tanned biceps, covered intricate tattoos so fine they looked like black Victorian lace doilies. Maya knew the downtown east side and the upper south side of the city like the back of her hand and was a fearless scout. She could find her way through anything outside. Before all this shit, she had been training to be a chef. Now she did great things with dried and canned food now. Bix saw me looking at Maya's tattoos. Hey, Maya, you know your tattoos are going to look like shit in 30 years' time. Bix taunted her. Maya turned slowly, dark, unreadable eyes to Bix. And when you're 70, your dick and balls are going to look like my grandmother's dried flower collection. She said the words slowly and deliberately. I liked Maya. She did not say much, but when she did, there were zingers. Even Bix hooted at that one. Han, our mechanic and all-round fixer-upper, laughed. He was lounging in one of the pristine white leather couches. He was in his early 20s, Asian with fast hands and a quick mind. He had a fleet of trucks and vans hot-wired in the unsecured underground parking lot of the hotel and had painted the Shangri-La Express on each of them. Patel, the sad-eyed East Indian guy, was sitting at one of the bar-type counters going through some building blueprints of the downtown core HQ had given him. He was a 30-something, soft-looking, and had an architecture degree, but he had been working in a 7-Eleven for the past few years. Ironically, it was only after the quake that he could practice some semblance of the trade he had studied so hard for back in India. He was the one who told us which buildings to blow up for safety or leave standing after we had checked them. Christine was thin, mid-30s, a sensitive-looking woman with big horn-rimmed glasses, short hair, and perfect skin. She smiled at Myers' retort as she sat on the floor reading a book. Being positive and fighting negativity was the title on the cover. Before the quake, she had been a yoga teacher, a homeopathic healer, and had taken a career break to study creative writing and poetry. What the fuck was a career break is what I wanted to know. Anyway, I was insanely jealous of her tight, trim belly, firm ass, compact boobs, and perfect posture. Not that it mattered anywhere in this world. Everyone dressed in army camo now. Christine had been assigned to us by Central Command HQ, and I did not know whether to laugh or cry when she said at the assignment interview that it was important for creative writers to document the feelings and impressions in this new era of change for future generations. No other units wanted this intense bird-like woman who always had a book with her. Have a fucking heart, Connors. Take her and get her to do something. Mike Evans, my CO, had hissed at me at HQ during his hurried walk from one meeting to the next. She's a fucking writer, boss, I had said. What am I going to do with a writer? Give me another grunt, electrician, a tools dog, or sniffer dog, I had argued. Colonel Evans had looked at me straight, steel grey eyes lasering in on me. On her evaluation form, it says she does yoga and marathon running. So she's got good cardio, she's fit, strong, and she won't slow you down out there. Bonus, her type don't eat much either, just kale and nuts. So she's low maintenance. Train her as a scout, get her in the field. Fuck, what's she gonna do out there, boss? Start a fucking writing class? Evans stopped and gripped me by my shoulder. Make it happen, Sergeant. We need every person possible out there to help bring some normality back to this clusterfuck of a world. Evans stormed off. I had served with him in Iraq and he trusted me. That was all he needed to say. He had 100 things to do and I was wasting his time. A crowd of army staff hurried around him as he walked off, all wanting a piece of him. A few days later, we were on dawn patrol down Main Street. A work crew was clearing a section of a collapsed SkyTrain station. There were reports that East Side zombies had found a way to get over the rubble barrier and it needed to be reinforced. We were guarding the construction crew during the work. I was outside our truck watching Bix trying to hit on a young blonde woman from the work crew. I was going to bark at him. He should be watching for zombs and vamps, but I decided to go easy on him. Bad mistake. The zombie had made no sound and rushed at me from behind so fast I was thrown a good 6 feet across the ground and had the wind knocked out of me. I reached for my pistol. Damn, it had flown out of my holster when I got hit. The zombie was a big guy. He had been in a fire or something because it's hard for me to make out what he originally looked like. Just one red eye staring at me from a blackened skull with white teeth and red gums bared at me. I looked closer and saw the remnants of the Vancouver Fire Department uniform on him. The zombie started shuffling towards me. Christine was in a work truck doing a check on medical supplies. Oh shit, I hope the zombie did not get to her first, I thought. Bix, Maya, I screamed as I backed away, still on the ground. Maya was high in a pile of rubble on lookout. She saw me and started running. She would not make it in time. I wasn't going to risk a shot in case she hit me. Fuck. I heard Bix shout and saw him running towards me. He didn't want to shoot either until he was nearer. I still had my backpack on and it made me hard for me to get up. What a way to go, I thought, as the zombie suddenly stopped, distracted by Bix running towards him. A huge bang made my ears ring and the zombie's head exploded, brain matter spraying everywhere. The zombie dropped to his knees, his neck squirting blackish, bluish blood. Behind him stood Christine, trembling, with my big Krakow pistol in her hand. She was doubled in pain, clutching her left arm and shoulder. The recoil must have hurt. The Russian Krakow was a large, powerful gun and not easy to handle. Bix reached us with the construction crew and helped me up. Chang had been driving a big Caterpillar dozer and came up running with Maya. Patel, clipboard in hand, also made his way to me. Christine was on her knees now, looking at the still twitching body of the zombie. At that moment, across the remains of a city, sirens blared. That meant there was only 1 hour to darkness, and the vampires would come. Saddle up, let's get back to base, I shouted. Christine retched violently, the vomit making a pool at her feet. Well, Christine, now you really have got something to write about, Maya said, helping her up.